Absolutely beautiful day. I think it might rain today. Over the next couple of days it's supposed to rain, so if I ever don't make a walk, just know it's because it's probably pouring. Sometimes you can't risk taking a camera out in the rain. I thought the GoPro was waterproof. It is, but I still don't like to take it out because the mod that it's in is not. Could you imagine that? You make a camera waterproof, but then the accessories that you make for the camera aren't waterproof. It's like, come on. That's stupid tech. Stupid technology. I don't have anything to talk about today. So earlier last week, a couple of different left-leaning channels that I watch on YouTube were talking about how, oh my God, Cankles, you know, the orange man is sick. And it was talking about how, oh my God, he's dying and JD Vance is gonna take over. And like, seriously, like all the left-leaning channels were talking about this. And then Donald Trump comes out today and he's like, this is news to me. I didn't know I was dead. I feel great, you know? And it's just like, my goodness, those people on the left are constantly fibbing and lying. And we're supposed to just overlook that? You know what I think? I think that the reason they were talking about Donald Trump's health isn't because his ankles were really swollen, isn't because they think he's got dementia. I think it's ultimately because Washington, D.C. has been going on 2 weeks without a homicide. Earlier today, I saw this little ad as I'm going through YouTube. And by the way, my life kind of revolves around YouTube. Ever since YouTube became popular, like in the, I don't know, maybe 2007, 2008 range, I've always been a big fan. I love watching YouTube videos. I watch way more YouTube through the course of a week than I do regular television, and it's been that way for a long time. So one of the ads that I saw was talking about how Donald Trump was saying there is no crime in DC, and I guess yesterday there was some sort of shooting or whatever. You're never going to get crime to exactly zero, but my goodness, I think even if crime would have been cut by 25%, I think that would have been awesome. But crime's been cut by like 75%, and the homicide rate went down nearly 100%. Now here's the sad thing. Right when they pull out, it's just going to be like that movie, The Purge. You're going to have a lot of people that have been chomping at the bit to get at their victims. And so what you're probably going to see, at least I wouldn't doubt it, is you're probably going to see that as soon as the troops exit DC, DC is probably going to go from having its best month in many, many decades to probably its worst month. I check on my video's performance, and like none of you guys even bothered watching. So in the future, if it's raining, screw the walk. Why should I care if you guys don't? I'm gonna walk indoors on those days. That's life, by the way, have you noticed? Sometimes you go out of your way for people, and sometimes those same people never go out of their way for you. God, that's what I've been wanting to talk about forever. That's what makes relationships sour. Your best friend, are they best friends with you because they're the best guy or best gal in the world? Or are they best friends with you because you're a sucker that gets taken a lot? And I don't even mean that in a mean way, because the reality is you should want to do well by your best friends. But why is it that one best friend always seems to go out of their way for the other, while the other friend, half the time, they don't even act like a friend at all? It's kind of crazy how that works. It seems like a lot of relationships have that dynamic, don't they? Where you go 65% of the way and they only meet you 35% of the way. There's never a halfway type situation. I think that's why as I get older, I hang out with less and less people. Some people say, oh my God, we've got a loneliness epidemic. Well, have you ever thought about the idea that at least a percentage of those people actually have given up on others, not because of a boo-hoo situation, but just because they got tired of the bullshit. I've told you about this a lot, that I think billionaires get a bad rap. Everybody hates the billionaires, yet to their face, everybody's their friend. It creates this weird paranoia amongst billionaires where they know deep down nobody likes them. The only time they like them is for their money and stuff. Those are the type of people that if they shut out the world, I wouldn't blame them, would you? I mean, doesn't that kind of suck that some people literally have a bunch of friends when they're loaded up with money? And then those same people, they'll have some sort of calamity occur and they'll end up going broke, right? And then all those friends dry up. It's kind of tough how life goes like that. In my 20s, I worked for this one company where I managed to make really good money. And me and my wife would have a poker night, and we'd invite a bunch of people over, and if we ever had a neighbor or a friend that didn't really have the money, we would throw their money in for them. Did you ever have a situation like that? I'm sure many of you have. But those same people that you'll go out of your way for, they never return the favor. Even if fortune changes for them, right? People can be poor one year and then super successful the next. I used to work at another job where I would do sales, and I would help new people get better and better, but not as a supervisor or manager, just as a guy giving advice. And I would help people up their sales performance and therefore up their paycheck. You know how many of those people ever invited me on a lunch? You know, hey, Jesse, you helped me make an extra $400 every paycheck. How about if I buy you lunch this week? Never. None of that. And that's how a lot of our best friends and family members treat us as well. Jesse, did something happen in the last day or two? No, not at all. As a matter of fact, the last day or two have been wonderful for me, and this weather out here is super nice. I'm just talking about the fact that many of us go out of our way for people, and I don't really know why. When I did go to meet with my daughter for lunch, it's weird because I've always been a 5 or 10 minute early person, right? You're known as being 15 minutes early, and if you're not 15 minutes early, you consider yourself late. Well, you know what ticks off those people? When they're dealing with people that always come 15 or 20 minutes late. So imagine I go to this restaurant, it's for my birthday, for Pete's sake, I'm excited, and the person that's meeting me there to enjoy my birthday with me ends up coming 20 minutes late while I arrive 15 minutes early. You guys can do the math. Would you ever like arriving someplace 35 minutes before the other people do? Oh my God, such a pain in the butt. Now, is that anything to lose friendship over, right? Or in my case, tell my daughter I never want to see her again. How can you be late on my birthday? No, it's just one of those things that's annoying, and some people go out of their way to constantly do those things to you. God, I'm sure my camera won't give it justice, but if you look at the beautiful orange gold color of the sunset, what's really nice about this time of year when it's September is at the beginning of September, I feel like the temperatures are still holding on to summer, right? You got like 105, 108. But by the end of September, as we head into October, all of a sudden it starts to become kind of comfortable in the evenings. Not necessarily during the day, but during the evenings. And then as we creep a little bit closer to Thanksgiving, before you know it, you're busting out the jacket and it's cold outside. I love the different times of year when it starts to get cooler outside. This is that time where trying to get you guys outside to walk with me is really, really challenging. But for those of you that are doing it, I appreciate it. You know, it was on one of these walks just like this where it was quiet and I was able to collect my thoughts. It was on one of these walks just like this where I said, you know what? I'm gonna break up with my girlfriend, right? Now that was many, many years ago. right? But sometimes you have a walk, you have that little moment of clarity, and you say, you know what? I'm going down the wrong path in life. I'm going to do A, B, and C instead of what I've been doing. I think what happens is we just get stuck in a rut, you know? We just get stuck doing the same thing. Now here's the thing. People might say, well, Jesse, when you take a walk, especially if you do the same pathway all the time, aren't you just like, you know, being stuck in a rut with your exercise program? I don't look at it like that. I look at it and I say, whenever I'm outside, I feel better. It's not something I'm declaring. It's just something that is. Sean, you walk every single day. The other day you left a comment because you were talking to Mala in the comments, and you said, Mala, I want to walk every single day forever. It's a gift to be able to walk. Could you imagine if you woke up tomorrow and all of a sudden your knee was busted and you couldn't walk anymore, or maybe you woke up paralyzed and you weren't able to use your legs? I see people all the time in the store where they're in the wheelchair or they're in that electric scooter and they're just so overweight that they can't even walk. And I think to myself, the gift is not that cake that you buy at the grocery store. The gift is being able to walk. So if anything, even if you don't want to lose any weight, even if you don't have a problem or care in the world, you should still walk. Because one day, each and every one of us, especially if we get super elderly, we're all going to get to the point where walking is challenging. God, I hope that day never comes for me. I really don't. Because I just love walking so much. I wish I could get the rest of the world to feel the way I do about it. But I can't seem to get people to walk. Or maybe I do. I just can't get people to watch the show. There's a difference. You know what really is cool? I feel like there's about 6 of you that have just been with me for the longest time, right? There's Carla, there's Terry the Terrify, there's Micah Stubblefield, AZ Raccoon, Mala, Sean. There's probably a couple others that I'm forgetting. But you guys have been walking with me so long. That's the real gift. That's the real gift. Sometimes I get a little jealous of those other YouTube creators because I think, my God, it's so crappy that they can just basically turn on their camera and make thousands of dollars. Meanwhile, I have to go on a walk in the rain and I can't even get a thumbs up from these people. But you want to know something? I like those other YouTubers, those YouTubers that make lots of money. I love watching them. They really make my day. I watch them rather than watching movie stars, you know, on the big screen, right? Rather than watching television programs, I watch these YouTubers. Maybe what I'm forgetting is that these YouTubers have something that makes you want to watch. I have a show that makes people want to stop watching. I need to work on that. That's something that I want to work on. I'm looking at that as a challenge handed to me from God. Jesse, your show is just not good. How can you make your show better? And here's the exciting part. I don't know the answer to that yet. But I do know one thing. A lot of those successful YouTubers that I like, they aren't successful right off the bat. A lot of them have shared stories that they tried in vain to get good at YouTube for 4, 5, 6 years before they actually, quote unquote, made it. And then some of them have been so popular for so long, they're even starting to see the writing on the wall, how their show is slowly getting less and less popular going forward. I watched a show today on Tim Pool, again, one of my favorite YouTubers, not for any particular reason other than just when you have nothing to do, it's fun listening to Tim Pool babble for 20 minutes. And he was talking about how in the future, he can already see that he's going to be making less and less money because as the AI content creators come on board, you know, every day there's more and more people that are pumping out AI content. Tim Pool was saying that in the next 5 or 10 years, there's going to be millions of those people coming in. And meanwhile, there's going to be other people that they just get tired of competing against all those people, and they're going to end up leaving. And so Tim Pool envisions a future where it's him competing against dozens of AI-generated content channels. Imagine a future where everybody that you listen to in the comment section, imagine where 3/4 of them are actually robots, because some people claim that that's what it is now. Mala, when you leave a comment, are you a human leaving the comment, or are you a robot? Some people would swear, Mala, that you were a robot. And you might say, Jesse, I don't believe it. I think I'm always gonna like people like Tim Pool, and I'm always gonna like different popular YouTube channels. But the reality is the AI content creator is gonna be just as good as Tim Pool. The only difference is they might make their content creator a little bit better looking, a little bit younger looking, a little bit more energy, right? A little bit more cutting edge. And every time Tim Pool puts together a story, it takes him weeks to get things ready, or at least his team, it takes them hours and days to get stories ready, right? Well, in the case of AI, they could probably come up with a storyline at the push of a button. I don't see how Tim Pool or anybody could compete with that. But here's what Tim Pool didn't remember, and I think a lot of people are forgetting this. Deep down, we don't want to see AI. Deep down, part of what makes YouTube special is the fact that at one time YouTube was kind of like America's Funniest Home Videos, but it was where everybody could put up their stuff, right? And some of it wasn't necessarily funny, but if you would have asked me right when YouTube first came out, what was it like? I would have compared it to America's Funniest Home Videos. Does anyone kind of see where I'm coming from? And then ultimately it changed to where they talked about every subject under the sun. It wasn't just funny stuff. And I think what makes YouTube special is that it's not generated from a big network, and that it's not generated from robots and AI. What makes it special is that it is us. And if the world is losing its mind because of 30-second content clips, then maybe walking with your buddy Jesse at Walk Talk Vent, maybe it'll save all of our sanity. Because what I told you the other day, Sean, is true. This walking channel really did save my career. I was planning on how I could, save up until I have another job to go to a couple years back. But now all of a sudden, I'm doing better at my job. And I'm excited and happy. But it is getting dark outside. I'm sorry for another boring walk, but you want to know something? These little 30-second clips of excitement and joy are actually what's destroying our lives. You need to get used to watching something that's a little slow and a little less exciting. So, since YouTube won't push my exciting videos, I'm hoping that maybe they'll push my slower ones, but probably not. Either way, I'm glad that you guys are here with me, and I hope we're together for the rest of our lives. I'll talk to you soon.